know what that is? Discipline. Selfish.
No joke. We're legitimate.
Let's fucking do this. Then do it. Do it 100%, because I'm trying to.
We recognize that we are limitless.
You gotta be a champion to become a champion, right? Winning is a habit because we create habits that lead to good execution and success.
Hey everyone, and thanks for tuning into the Coaches Show, episode 91. I'm Mike Bianca, coach of San Diego Dynasty. With me, as always, is my friend and co-host, Coach Ryan Gray of Red Legion. And tonight is going to be all about you. That's right. Tonight we're going to let it rip with you guys in the audience. Ryan and I often get several messages after shows or after our clinics from people just looking for a little extra insight about certain topics that we don't always tackle here on the show. So we thought we should give you the opportunity to fire off some questions, and who knows, maybe we'll have the answers you're looking for. Right. But first, we're going to start with something that has been on both of our minds lately, and that we've had several conversations about over the past couple of years, what it truly means to be a coach. Not just calling plays or running drills, but the deeper side of coaching, of leadership, the trust, the accountability, the people side of this job that doesn't always show up or translate to a scoreboard, right? After that, like I said, we'll dive into your questions that we received from social media and then open it up to the live chat. This is your chance to steer the conversation. So if there's something you've always wanted to ask, let us know tonight. So settle in and hit that like button, and let's talk about what it really means to be a coach in our sport and at the highest levels. And, well, why we keep showing up for this game we all love, right? And I apologize, I have a cold, so bear with me. This episode is brought to you by Maxt Sportswear. Get with Charles for 2026 deals and sponsorship information, or maybe just stop by his booth at Cuppin and hit up there. And BKI, where the smart players are getting smarter. Why? Because BKI. Sign up at bkipaintball.com. You won't regret it. And don't forget to sign up for the Coaches Show Clinic at World Cup. This one will be centered around building up the team during the offseason. We'll cover topics such as season assessment, how to run an effective tryout, identifying holes in games and theories and necessary processes, as well as identifying player attributes. So this one is always a lot of fun, and we look forward to seeing you guys there at the 50 Beverage Tent on Thursday morning from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Is the link up, Ryan? I think you put that up.
It is above or below.
All right.
And
Hey,
if you're listening to the podcast, it's in the description of the show.
Awesome. Sorry, I'm drinking my hot tea to take care of this. What did I call it? A rhinovirus? I can't remember.
Yeah.
Anyway, I apologize ahead of time. I'm probably going to get a little long-winded tonight because this is a topic that I love to talk with my friend Ryan about, and all of you out there. Listen, Ryan, you and I have had conversations with each other that have, quite frankly, run the gamut of coaching. Heck, this show got started with it, really. You and I would coach our teams together at scrimmages, and it was obvious from the start that we had a lot of the same goals in mind, but we took different paths. Here we are today. We're both coaching incredible programs. In the journey itself couldn't have been more different for the two of us, right? But the end goal was always quite similar. I believe that growth is never just by chance. It's usually a result of forces working together. And that's the role of a coach, right? Guiding those forces. Whether those forces are positive or negative, it doesn't matter. It's how we respond to them, use them, mold them, that hopefully leads to growth taking place. Creating that vision that there are no obstacles, just opportunities, right? And I warned you in the green room, Ryan, I want to share a story real quick that I saw on Instagram today. It was a history lesson of sorts but it had a really good message to it. It resonated with me, and I think it's relevant. So bear with me for a sec. In 1887, a guy by the name of Harry Palmer invented a machine that made solid cinder blocks. He was convinced it was going to be the future of all construction. So he gets this patent, he gets this machine, he gets these blocks out into the construction world, and lo and behold, people are complaining. They said, these are heavy. These things are 100 pounds each. It makes it difficult to move. They're hard to transport. So a few years later, he creates the cinder blocks we know of today. 2/3 of the original cinder block is missing, right? So now the new cinder block only weighs 30 pounds. But what's fascinating about it is the new cinder block design, and the holes in it, right? The one that weighs 70 pounds lighter is actually structurally more sound. It can bear more weight. It creates more insulation in buildings. It's easier to transport, all these things. That's coaching. Now, the analogy doesn't mean do or be less. It means we need to identify and remove what is non-essential in order to create greater value, to create more impact. It's about removing all the extra concrete that weighs a team down and prevents us from being our best. It's about finding new and creative ways to be efficient. I had a call not too long ago with my boys on Dynasty, and we were talking about preparation for Cup. And I remember saying, it isn't the strongest or the most intelligent that survive. It's those that are most adaptable. So obviously a play on Darwin, but I digress. Anyway, that's where I kind of want to start this whole thing off with you tonight and with our audience. I preached about adaptability for a long time. You've preached about it. And I think we both agree that it's a key component to coaching. Adaptability can be applied to so many different instances in the coaching world, whether it's play calling, practice agendas, communication, or interaction with different players. Adaptability is the cornerstone to coaching. See what I did there? Cinder blocks. Anyway, adaptability and efficiency are two major components to coaching. And I want to start a conversation off tonight. What do we consider some of the key components necessary to be a coach? You know, it's funny. I have a list that I carry around in my wallet. You and I were talking about this, just words scribbled on a piece of paper one day after a practice many moons ago, by the way. I actually used this to create a t-shirt on my Zen page a few years ago. It's called the Culture t-shirt, and it has 5 pillars. I had to shave it down to fit on a shirt, so I consolidated it into 5. But anyway, I take it out and look at it every once in a while to remind myself or keep myself on track, right? Usually when I may be feeling, let's say, less than accomplished. But anyway, we'll get to those. But I wanted to just start the conversation off with what components or qualities we think people should possess, or rather strive for, in order to be a successful coach. Mm-hmm. Figured I'd pitch it to you at that point.
Yeah. First of all, I love your analogy. Wrote that down.
Yeah, it struck me.
It's really good. Yeah, because the reality is everything you said when we talk about like why or what for a coach, they're all those things. And I kind of told you this in the green room. I went about it in a little bit different way, and I thought about it for myself, right? Like, what are the reasons? What are the whys for me, right? For me, it's like, you know, personal motivation, leadership and teaching, competitive drive in the community and culture, right? And all of those things have not only, like, and we'll get into this later because, you know, Dan Shelley asked a great question on our social media, and we'll kind of talk about the how when we get to that question. But, you know, originally when I started coaching, it was about just chasing trophies. There wasn't really an understanding of the real responsibility we have as coaches to the players, to the game, and to the culture, not only to that group, but also to the kind of the whole community, right? Especially as you as you navigate and traverse through the ranks, and the teams below you begin to watch you more, they begin to mimic you, your culture and attitude will affect and does affect that next group that's coming up. Right. And I think that that's something that I really didn't understand until I came back and started coaching Notorious. Right. Which at that point I had been coaching since 2006, and that was in 2021. Right. So like all of this time had passed. I'd coached at that point, X Factor and Texas Storm. And really, again, it was just about kind of chasing trophies, but at the same time, without knowing, I was helping to develop and cultivate young talent, and taking groups from semi-pro to pro. And man, with that Texas Storm team, it was really divisional players to pro. They weren't even semi-pro. So when I think about, like, as you and I have talked about this, and again, rehashed it probably a million times over the last, 3 to 4 years of our relationship, it's changed, right? Like, and I think even today, as we move into 2026, I think it'll change even more. The role of coaching has become more and more important as the game continues to develop, and coaches continue to develop and get better. I'd like to think that we're a big part of that with the resources and this resource that we provide to all the coaches. But, and Dan asked another question, which you and I originally in the green room, as we were talking about it, kind of disagree, but I think we're on the same page now, about young kind of divisional players coaching other teams, right? Which I think is pretty important. But again, we'll talk about that when we get to the question. People usually lead how they were led, right? And so when we think about how things sort of tier down, a lot of times people lead how they were led, unless it was a traumatic experience, right? You watch like kids sometimes that come out of an abusive home end up having a very soft parenting style, right? They kind of transition all the way the other way. Coaching can be that way too, right? We can go all the way the other direction if we were in kind of an abusive relationship with our coach. So if you are led, Paul Richards said this one time, and I just grasped onto it kind of right away. He was like, I lead people the way I've been led by great coaches, right? And he said, when I say great coaches, I don't mean in sports. I mean great coaches in life. Right. Like if I'm talking to people about spirituality, I want to lead them down that path in a way that I've been led by the best person who's led me down that path. If I'm leading someone down a business path, I want to lead them in the same manner as the best person who led me down that path. Right. So mimicry is something that occurs quite a bit, right? I hear things that I've said to players 15 years ago from guys that I've coached. I hear them say that to players now. I'm like, all right, maybe I did have an impact on that young man. So, but that personal motivation, just kind of to wrap up back to the beginning, personal motivation for me, again, has changed dramatically, right? When I first came in, that personal motivation was more about chasing trophies than it was about understanding purpose, structure, the lifelong friendships that I would get out of it. And then also to have that servant's mentality and attitude, right? Where I understand that I'm as a member of the team in a leadership role, I have to be a servant, right? I have to give back and give to them what they need, not what I need them to have. Right. They have to be willing to accept. They have to want the information. And so I have to have more of a servant's more of a servant's attitude, right? Which is another key component that I think is maybe the most important of all of them, is to understand that you have to be there to serve, right?
Right. And that's something I look forward to talking to about tonight, right? What you don't see behind the scenes, what you don't see in the videos and at the pits and at the events. You don't see what the coaches are doing at home when we're not at practice, right? The data, the tape watching, the amount of time spent trying to create an environment and a process that serves the team and the individual player. So I for you to say that, if I knew you were getting to that point, because that's what it was about for me. It was about service. Like you though, there was that challenge, right? Can I do this? Am I up to this? Am I the right man for this? You know, it was about development, right? Developing, trying to be an influence, trying to bring positivity, trying to be a good example. And I think that's why I've said this to a few people, and I don't think I've ever said it here on the show. Maybe I have, I don't know. But show me somebody who has their stuff together outside the net. I'll show you somebody who can be just as successful inside the net, because they already have the attributes necessary to be successful. Right. So, and if we can help guide that and enforce that or force multiply that, then that's where it's at for me.
Yeah. And on the other side of that, though, there's like a genuine fulfillment when you see players evolving on and off the field, right? Those players who maybe have those challenges with relationships or struggle with vocation or whatever the case may be. And you watch things as they're coming together off the field while they're coming together on the field, and they're continuing to evolve. And then you see this person from the time they come into a program until the time either they leave or you leave, or maybe they're just done with paintball. You had a great example of one earlier, and you see their kind of life after, you know, being lived in this, you know, very joyful way, that when you first met them wasn't a thing, right? There's this, you know, personal fulfillment you get, which for me is also a motivating factor, right? Like, you know, you and I, and our two friends, you know, Justin and Maddie, after the show last week, God, I wish we would have had that on the show. Like that whole 20-minute conversation was just amazing. Yep. But, you know, Maddie sharing with me what he did afterward, you know, it's amazing the people you have an opportunity to come into contact with and touch their lives, and you don't even know it, right? You don't even know it until, God, 20 years, 25 years later. So, yeah, there's some personal fulfillment there.
Agreed. I think you have to care, right? You have to generally want the best for your players. You have to want to see them succeed. You know, I get vested, maybe overly so, and I don't see that as a, you know, an issue. I generally want to see everyone do well. You know, and it's not just the boys in blue, right? Don't get me wrong.
Sure.
I've really enjoyed this whole journey with Dynasty, and it's been so eye-opening. And you and I were chatting about this in the green room, right? I don't coach Dynasty like I coach the Hurricanes, and I didn't coach the Hurricanes like I coached Prime or CEP or any of these other things, right? You have to be, and wow, full circle, adaptable to the needs of the team, as well as the individual. So, you know, being able to put those different hats on.
Yeah. And again, full circle, when we start thinking about what does it take to be adaptable, you got to have a servant's mentality, right? It's not my way, it's what you need. And I need to find ways to get you what you need, right? I need to find ways to be of service to you. So kind of like rolling forward a little bit, you know, leadership and teaching is another, you know, big component for me. Like, over the years, again, that's evolved tremendously. Like leadership and teaching, you know, when you're talking about taking divisional teams to the professional ranks, that looks different. That looks different, right? Because we're really, from a teaching perspective, we're talking about fundamental team paintball for the most part. We're talking about individual fundamental paintball. We're talking a lot about mentality of the game and the match and how we prepare. And, you know, when you're talking about the groups that we coach now, that's different, right? Some of the lessons I'm teaching now are how to be like, it's okay to have a little bit of emotion when something spectacular or outside of the realm of someone's role happens, right? If somebody does something extraordinary, it's okay to have a little bit of emotion about it, right? Yeah. Or if you see a teammate struggling, it's okay to go pick them up and lift them up, right? So, you know, that teaching and leadership with a group like Red Legion or a Dynasty, it looks different.
Mm-hmm.
It looks different. And
Yeah,
again, that's that adaptability, right? And then understanding like where that need is and trying to put myself in a position to be able to fill that role.
Right. When I first got into coaching, and Jason Hansen made a comment here. He says, I always thought it was about mentorship, guidance, development of young people for Bianca, but he went to California and changed. And it's funny, but it's true.
Sure.
Right? Because
you had to change.
With Dynasty, it's not about necessarily mentorship or guidance or development. Maybe development to an extent, and maybe guidance to an extent, but it's not about influencing, personal lives as much as it is influencing, performance and discipline and motivation. So totally. He's not necessarily wrong there. It did start out that way for me, but now it's a different hat. Now it's, like you said, finding those processes and on buttons, right, for the team.
Yeah. It flows right into the kind of the next one I was going to talk about, which is competitive drive. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this has changed dramatically,
yes.
right? Where I mentioned kind of chasing trophies, and now it's more about kind of watching, the preparation and trust turn into success.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's about, watching again, these men have different outlooks, right? Again, not just on what's happening on the field, what's happening off the field, right? I don't know how many young people are in the audience right now, but things used to be different. People used to actually just sit down and have conversation. And a lot of times if we disagreed on something, usually it was because one person had a different perspective than the other because of the experience they've had in their life. And so we would have those conversations. And sometimes through those conversations, you might see someone's mind changed because they don't have that same experience that you do. Now I know you guys are used to seeing people just battling on the internet and battling through social media where they're just spewing all this chaos and nonsense and clickbait that we all, not me, but a lot of people get involved in very quickly. And no one's changing their mind on the internet. No one. Right. And so being able to sit down and have conversations with people where their outlook or my outlook may change. Right.
Yeah.
Now those are kind of the things that keep that competitive drive. One, like most coaches of high level teams, I think we can win every tournament we play.
Of course.
I think we can win every tournament we play. So I have to go a step further with the way I participate with the Red Legion. Once the coaching part of it, because they're already really good, right?
Mm-hmm.
They have great coaching already. So when I come in, I've got to find kind of where is my place, right? And so I am certainly being helpful on the competitive side on the field, but now I found that like my role is more what happens kind of off the field, right?
Mm-hmm.
And being supportive in a different way than really the other coaches are. So now that competitive drive's being satisfied in a slightly different way, right? It's evolved, it's been adapted.
Yeah. That's fascinating to me because that flows into one of mine, which is amity, right?
Yeah.
With Dynasty, one of the things that my key word right now is balance, right? Amity, if those of you who don't know what amity is, it's like the cooperation and support, right, between people. That's amity, right? But it's peaceful, right? Calmness, really. Things don't have to get loud. Maintain a heart rate and listen. No chaos.
Yeah.
And when you've got such talented individuals that I have on Dynasty and Legion and other, all top pro teams, really, if you can create that amity amongst the crew where everyone is heart rate's good to go, no chaos, we're zen, right? And we can get that information flowing between each other. It's powerful. And if you can create that, then now people are in trouble, right? There comes that competitive edge because there's that strength in unity, right? Unity is one of the 5 words on the thing, team, unity, what have you. But the amity aspect of it is the key, right? Being able to deliver a message in a calm and meaningful manner without losing our stuff, right? So keeping the heart rate cool, staying cool, calm, collected.
This is a great comment. TTU Bob 87 says, love that cohesive coaching. All the top teams seem to have multiple coaches with different skill set. So excited for Cup. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah. It's so funny, like coming from when I started coaching in 2006 and 7, there were a handful of teams that had coaches and that was it. And now you're seeing teams that have, 2 and 3 coaches, along with stat people and pit people. And it just, it's amazing how kind of these organizations have evolved, right? And how they've adapted, right? They've adapted to the needs in order to be more successful, right? All the top teams now you are correct, all have kind of multiple people in their pits. If you look at Paintball Fit, God, there's, Johnny, Colt, Casey, right? Mom and dad are in there. You got there's a lot of people in there helping out. And maybe have kind of the best sort of top-down structure in paintball, right? With I think Red Legion being right there with them. So yeah, everybody has multiple coaches that have different skill sets, and there's a reason for that.
That's right.
It's needed.
And they all have to have, and I think the most successful, integrity, right? Ethics.
Totally.
The concept of what's right, what's wrong. I know I have a moral code, and I don't always try to impose it, but there are certain things that I'm just not going to let fly or let happen. I believe in honesty, calling it like I see it. I'm always going to be straight up and honest with you. I'm going to meet you, even if you come at me with a certain energy that maybe as a coach, I have to recognize that, hey, this player's emotional right now. There's all this stuff going on. Let's face it. We play a pretty incredible sport that's pretty intense. And so I have to be able to be that stalwart, meet that energy, bring it down, and make sure that they're receiving as well as, you see what I'm saying? I'm not explaining this well. It's the cold, but
no. Yeah, I think you are.
You got to be able to meet that energy and make sure that the messages are received, right? And just staying cool, calm, and collected again, but integrity, right? Having that moral code and understanding, hey, this is the right thing to do right now, right? Even if we don't want to do it, it's the right thing to do and it's got to be done. So.
And I think that rolls right into culture and community, right? It's like understanding that those sort of integrity and ethics and the way we handle and manage ourselves, it does have a ripple effect, right? It does have a ripple effect. And that's one big, especially over the last, and again, this is something we talked about in the green room that I wish we had on air. It's been a long time since we've had kind of that generational player kind of come in and flip everything on its head, right? It's been a long time since we've sort of had that. Now we've had guys come into the league that have played sort of above where we thought they were going to be when they came in, right? I think Mark Miterman sort of fits into that. He comes in to the Uprising program and really helps to elevate them. But like now as I'm getting older, I'm almost 50 years old. And now like I understand that my time in the game is limited, right? Time is getting small for me. And so now like when I think about the culture and the community and wanting to leave it better than I found it, I want to be a part of that next player, right? I want to, help to cultivate and help to train kind of what that next player is going to look like. And I think because of that, it's not just about elevating that one player, but also the standard of the entire community, right? And kind of what expectation is from a training perspective and support that it takes to get a player to go from, coming into the league as a rookie, right? And being able to turn it on its ear within a couple of years, right? Yeah, Joey, I'm sorry. Joey Konopinski says Ryan is 31, guys. Yeah, I'm not. Yeah.
Listen, I'm 52 and I still think I can play paintball, which is ridiculous. But what you're talking about there, I like that example you made. And it's one of the things I wrote down is habituation, right? Habituation, the process by which actions are repeated frequently, right? And we establish patterns, right? Which ultimately allows them, these habits, right, to be performed with less effort as time goes on. We are what we repeatedly do. This comes from me trying to embrace the Stoic philosophies, but good habits lead to good outcomes, right? The more difficult a goal, the more difficult it is, the harder it is to develop that habit. But I think that's what you're kind of leaning into, right? We need to create these processes and habits that ultimately lead to consistency, and developing that with a new player or even an older player that's been developing and keeping those habits strong, creating those disciplines and making sure we have consistent execution. That's tough. That's tough to do on a regular basis. And it's tough to do. And you've got to be switched on every practice. Every practice, you've got to be there ready to do that and help them see that. And sometimes it's hard as a coach because we struggle with things too, right? We struggle with consistency. We struggle with, getting out of bed. Well, you and I don't, but we struggle with these types of things of, hey, I've really got to go finish that project before I focus 100% on this team. And those types of hurdles and obstacles, right? And I said it earlier today, they're just opportunities for me to show those virtues again that you and I were talking about. All right. I'm here. I'm in this moment. And so therefore I've got to be here 100% for my guys. I expect my guys to give me 100% every time. What kind of coach am I if I don't show up giving 100% every time as well? So habituation is one of the things on my list.
Yeah. Christian says, this feels oddly somber for an episode. Mike, Ryan, you guys doing all right?
Well, I've got a cold. So
yeah. No, we are doing good. Christian, great. That's a really good point that you're making. One of the things, one of the reasons kind of we're doing this is we kind of felt like we always want our guests. In fact, one of the things we talk about in the green room before our show is to just let it go, right? It's okay to be a little bit vulnerable. It's okay to, you can talk about whatever you want from a coaching perspective, because that's who we're talking to. But yeah, we're doing fine, man. We just these are things that kind of, as we've thought about our journey and we've had lots of conversations about it, we thought it was important to share, right? Like every time we do a clinic, it evolves, right? If we do a clinic like that we did a year and a half ago and we talk about a topic, there's more content there. We've changed it, right? Because Mike and I have evolved, and maybe something we thought or a standard we had set then is no longer valid. Now it needs to be this, right? So Mike talking about adaptability and I talk about being pliable and malleable all the time. We talk about especially communication with players, but we thought it was important to kind of talk about these things because again, the game's changing. It's constantly evolving, right? And it's going to evolve even more, especially over the next few years. You want to talk about somber. If we think about the players right now in our game that are probably the most influential, with the exception of Tyler Harmon and Marcelo Margot, many of them are aging out, right? We're going to lose Ryan Greenspan probably in the next 5 years, right? We're going to lose Kirill Peridny probably in the next 5 years. There's a lot of these incredibly influential players that are going to age out. They're going to go away, right? And so again, the game will evolve, and something will, someone and someone's will have to take their place, right? And so thinking about culture and community and leaving it better than you found it, we got to pick that up a little bit, which I love now. Everybody wearing the glasses with the camera, with the Ray-Ban things with the camera. I love that. That's so cool. Watching the footage from their headshots. It's so neat. But that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about too. That's a responsibility, and those guys doing that's really cool.
Absolutely. And there's two other comments. I kind of want to jump on what Christian said as well. one of the things I wrote down was positivity, right? I think that one's self-explanatory. If you need a definition for that one, then I can't help you. But I've always believed that you get more bees with honey than vinegar. And I'm not going to yell or fight you. I'm not going to do it. I want to find something good in everything if I can. And it doesn't always work, but it helps. But yeah, something we need to bring in a lot of times. So many coaches want to focus on the negative. And whereas that's certainly something you should acknowledge and recognize, it doesn't mean we can't use it in a positive way. It doesn't have to be chaotic. It doesn't have to be forceful. And I'm not saying that certain players don't respond well to that. Some players do respond well to, hey, kick my ass, right? But there are those that if you're trying to speak to a team, if you're trying to reach more people than just the one player, positivity has to play a role in that. We have to be positive with these things. Hey, okay, we didn't do well at this event, what have you. Okay, what did we do well? Let's start there, and then we'll move on, right? So, and I just think that's something that this sport you could use a lot more of, right? Is a little bit more positivity. I've been around a lot of camps. I do a lot of clinics, coaching clinics individually and for individual teams in the Southeast. And a lot of them really hyper focus on the negative. And one of the first things I try to change is, hey, well, let's work with that. Let's find something positive from it and see how we can turn that frown upside down.
Yeah.
Oh, the other one I wanted to talk about. So about Christian, and then someone else, Joey K talks about everybody must be reading Sheldon's book. It's funny.
So. It's a great book.
It's a great book. And you talk about vulnerability, right? As a coach, I certainly knew where Dan was coming from a imposter syndrome aspect. Matter of fact, Dan and I had a very great conversation about that when I went on his podcast. Matter of fact, that didn't make it onto the show, but we had a long talk about imposter syndrome coming into this, as a coach and becoming the coach of Dynasty. And, what can you coach on? What can you teach Dynasty, right? Would I be the right fit? What have you? And it's been such an incredible journey. These things, like you said earlier, they evolve, right? And they're still evolving. We talked about it a couple of times, currently it's an experiment. Everything we do is an experiment, and we're trying to find what works best for every program.
Yeah. Love that.
No.
Yeah. Thanks, Christian. Kristen just says, love you guys are talking about this. Yeah.
Meta glasses. Thank you, Joe.
Yeah.
Meta
glasses.
That,
and I was like, yeah, we're boomers almost. Not quite. Yeah.
Gen Z, the last of the feral.
Yeah. So let's jump into some so we'll start with the social media questions. Dan Shelley. Sorry, that last one was funny. We'll start with Dan Shelley's question because I thought it was really good. He says, at what point did you both know it was time to pick up the clipboard versus playing full time? Go ahead.
You want me to start?
Yeah.
Okay. At what point did you both know? I don't think I ever did. I don't think I ever knew. Right. It just, there's that word again. It just evolved into it. I'm one of those people that lead or get out of the way. And I know that sounds, very masculine, but that's, and I'm not trying to act anything different than I am, but a lot of times if I see a hole somewhere, I have to act. It's just the way I was raised, right? You were talking about earlier about, tear down, right? So that's the way I was raised. If you see something that needs to be done, you do it. And that's how it sort of happened for me. I was always the oldest on the teams I was usually playing on. And if I saw a deficiency, I would try to plug the hole. And that just kind of led me to the role of ultimately being a player coach and then ultimately becoming a coach. And once I decided to embrace that role, I got academic. I started studying. I started reading. Coach Paul was a mentor. I've had some great people. This man next to me on the screen is one of them, who's been great examples and has helped me on my journey. throughout the years, and not just paintball coaches, like you alluded to earlier, right? I've had baseball coaches, I've had kickboxing, instructors, jujitsu guys, football, wrestling, all these coaches and men that I've met throughout the Marines in my life, all the different military that I've dealt with in my life. They've all given me something, and I've taken from them, right? And it's like Bruce Lee says, absorb what is useful, discard what is useless, and make everything else uniquely your own. And that's what I've really embraced that philosophy. And that's what ended up happening. It just kind of evolved into it. I wouldn't say I fell into it or I ultimately chose it, but it was circumstances that were in front of me that made me act. I don't know if that answers your question, Dan, but that's ultimately what, and I got to come up with a new word. I keep saying ultimately, I'm sorry. I eventually ended up there, and I just embraced it and started studying it and leaned into it because that's what was needed of me. So in order for me to serve the team the best way I could, I had to sharpen the mind, because this is the weapon, right? We talk about that all the time. And I started reading books. I started making phone calls. I started asking questions every opportunity I got, and just leveraged any and everything I could. Even the corporate world has taught me a lot of stuff here in the paintball world, right? Where I work, talking to my managers and bosses and other managers and leaders within the corporate world, and understanding how they address certain situations and just reapplying it, just putting a different spin on it and applying it to paintball. But that's what happened. And I still pick up the paintball gun. That's my problem right now. I don't know that I'm old. I don't know that I'm beat yet, just yet. I'm sure it's coming, right? Recovery time after a weekend of playing paintball is usually a lot longer now, but I still like to get out there and mix it up with the youth.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not going to get into the whole story of mine. I literally, if you want, you can go to Christian's podcast, In the Pits. I talk about it there. I'm pretty sure I talk about it on Dan Shelley's podcast too, but I really didn't want to coach. I retired from playing at San Diego NPPL in 2006, and Rocky Newth from the Naughty Dogs asked me to coach. And I was like, I'm not a coach, man. And he kind of went through the list of players that had come through the Texas Storm group while I had been the leader there. And he was like, I think you are a coach. Maybe. And Colt Roberts was there, which he grew up playing with Texas Storm. And so I decided I would coach them at World Cup. And then the team had never done better than 8th at a PSP event. And we go to World Cup and get 2nd, lost to the Russians by a lot, which is wild that it's come full circle.
Great.
By a lot. I think they beat us like 14-2 or something. I mean, it was just like an embarrassing beatdown, but we got 2nd at World Cup, my very first professional coaching outing. So guess what? Now I'm a coach, right? So X Factor comes and talks to me literally at the event and said, hey, why don't you come coach us? And I decided it was maybe something I would stick my toe in and see what happened. And then, of course, if you don't know the story there, we won the 3rd. So at World Cup that year, which was their first event pro, they didn't win a match. We won the 3rd professional X Ball event that X Factor played. So if you don't know that story, go watch BKIT. It's a kick-ass documentary.
It really is.
So I kind of got thrust into coaching, but realized that I kind of did have a knack for it, and I kind of did love it. So, yeah.
That's right. Colt did sit in on the last coaches clinic along with Alex Martinez. And that's the thing, right? Us coaches, there is a lot of mutual respect there. And I'm always looking for opportunities. I'll usually, and I know Ryan does this too, ghost a couple of teams and just listen. You're looking for those nuggets of knowledge. And there's a lot of it out there with a lot of these coaches. That's why we try to get them onto the show and share them with all of you.
Yeah, every time I'm in the pit before our matches, I'm usually standing right next to the other team's pit because I want to hear them.
Yeah,
I want to hear them. I want to know kind of mid-game what's happening. How's their pit reacting to things? What's the coach saying? So, that's a good one. I'll save it.
I see it. Yeah,
Tubo. I'll save that one. That's a great question.
Good question. Yeah.
Okay. Dan also asked, do you recommend divisional players pick up coaching roles to help them to see the field differently? I'll start. Yes, but not for that reason. I think it's really important for divisional players to coach younger developing teams, not so that they'll see the field differently, but more so that they get more opportunities to interact with players. My experience is when a player coaches, they interact with coach differently, right? They begin to have a bigger and better understanding of what the role is. So the interaction is different, right? So I do think it's important. And I also think, just like anything else that we learn, the more ways we can teach it, the better we learn it, right? So I think it's important for divisional teams. Again, maybe not again, but I will say I have seen some divisional players take on coaching roles without being ready for that type of leadership position. And that can be very detrimental, not only to the player, but to the team they're coaching, right? I wrote this thing on Facebook years ago talking about what happens in the absence of leadership. And what happens in the absence of leadership is someone is going to take that role. Usually it's going to be somebody who's not ready to have it, right? Because they're going to take it. Leadership comes from a place of give, right? When a group says we want you, we're willing to follow you, that's when leadership is really valuable and meaningful. When a player takes it, or a coach takes leadership, that's not good, right? So in order for it to work well, that player has to be ready for the responsibility of being the coach.
I think it's an excellent answer. You and I chatted about this question a little bit, and at first I didn't think the answer was yes. My initial thought when I read the question was, to the question being, do you recommend divisional players pick up coaching roles to help them see the field differently? Again, like you, not necessarily to see the field differently, but to create an appreciation for their own coaches, to create an appreciation for the role, to create an appreciation for what goes into that, because it's not just play calling or line calling. And anyone who thinks that's all it is has, they're in for a rude awakening. Only because if that's all you think it is and is necessary in order to be successful, you're missing out. You're not seeing the forest through the trees. It's a great opportunity to learn on the job. I can learn on the job and understand. Once you see the other side of it, now you understand what it is to be the player looking for guidance, asking for leadership, and then all of a sudden flipping that role. And now you have people depending on you, asking you all these questions and have all these needs. And you have to be what they need at that moment. And guess what? That moment and what they need at that moment is going to change a lot. And so you have to be able to change a lot, or you need to not change a lot and be consistent. Right. So I think it's important that it is good for divisional players to pick up coaching roles, to learn where they can, because yes, that can ultimately lead to them improving as a player. But I think it also ultimately leads to them learning the game better. Right. Ultimately.
Yeah, it makes you a better man, not just like a coach, but it'll make you a better man. Like getting hit in the head with a hammer when you fail a few times will create the kind of humility that will either knock you out or just knock you down.
That's right.
Right. So, from coaching has taught me numerous lessons. Usually, and I think I said this last week, I'm hard-headed, right? So when I learn lessons, they have to be incredibly painful, right? They have to be really painful. Unfortunately, I don't learn soft lessons, right? So I have to get kicked in the teeth before I go, yeah, all right, I should probably change that.
I think your analogy was a brick to the face.
Yeah. It's like, I hit in the head with a hammer, whatever you want to call it. So, all right, this is a silly one, but we'll ask it anyway. So Greg Montalvo says, who is the greatest rock band of all time?
Oh, you're taking it way off script.
He doesn't say and why. So just, throw it out there.
Okay. Well,
obviously this is perspective.
Yeah, this is perspective. But I mean, if we're talking about the greatest rock band, we've got to be careful with the terminology because there's so many, nuances
Amazing ones
in rock, right?
Yeah.
So I think you gotta look at Zeppelin, you gotta look at the Stones, you gotta look at the Beatles.
Oh, you gotta pick one, dude.
You gotta look at Queen. I think you gotta consider Van Halen. I think
you gotta pick one.
So I gotta pick one, huh?
You gotta pick
one. Well, you go first then.
That'd be the Beatles.
Okay.
The Beatles. I mean, they created an entire movement.
It's true. Yeah, it's quite
punk spawned off of the Beatles. Like for me, it's the Beatles.
No. That's a good one. I'm torn. I can't narrow it down to one because they all had some form of, influence. Now, who was the greatest rock band to me in my generation? That's either going to be Sabbath or Halen. But yeah, I see where you're coming with the Beatles, because ultimately the Beatles influenced Zeppelin, right? So
totally.
Heck, they influenced Motorhead. So it's.
I mean, I think you'd be hard pressed to find any rock and roll band or musician that wasn't in some way influenced by the Beatles.
I think that's true.
I think you'd be hard. So like literally, I was going to say Metallica just because of their, like they've been around forever. They continue to play amazing music.
Right.
And then I was like, wait a second. I remember Lars talking about like being influenced a ton by the Beatles. I was like, it's got to be the Beatles, right? The Who.
Yeah, the Who. Oh, I gotta forget the Who. Deep Purple. But even Ozzy Osbourne from Sabbath even said his favorite band was the Beatles.
Yeah.
So, all right. I guess that's the answer to that one.
It's the Beatles, Greg. It's the Beatles.
It's the Beatles.
So it's the Beatles. All right. We'll go into the chat questions now. This one from Christian and In the Pits podcast. As the season is just ending for most of the regions and the cup is on the horizon, for teams that ended on a down note, what should their focus be in the off season to come out strong in 2026? Great question.
Yeah. Wow. You've got a bunch of these starred here. I actually wrote an article on this. I've written a couple articles, and Christian, if you're interested in reading it, I'll send it to you. On Zen and the Art of Paintball. Again, it comes back to that positivity, right? What did we do right? And then we got to focus on, okay, what were our major issues? Because here's the thing. It's not just about what's happening out on the field. It's what's happening in the pits. It's how we're practicing. 90% of the time when I'm brought in to do a clinic with a lower divisional team, D3 or lower, some of the questions I ask them, I always ask them, what's the standard practice like for you? And a lot of teams don't understand how to practice, right? Let's say they do recognize the things they do well, and let's say they even recognize the things they don't do well, but they don't know how to change it. And that happens through not just the mental aspect, but the execution of the practice at practices. So I think really the key is recognizing what we did well, what we need to improve upon, and how we're going to adapt. As a coach, you have to be able to steer that team and say, here's what we're going to do this offseason to address these issues. You have to have a plan. You can't just show up at practice and keep practicing what you've been doing. You can't just go out there and play points. You can't just go out there and run this drill or that drill. You have to understand the issue at its core. And it's usually several issues, not just one.
Yeah, for me, the off season is about refining and defining individual skills, again, based on support from data. It's about understanding here, you need to work on these 5 key elements. You need to be doing this one day, this the next day, this the next day, or even 3 things this day if you're a Saturday only or a Sunday only, and stop. Don't play points. Don't play points. You need to just, like we would always, so with Texas Storm is we were in the off season between 2010 and 2011, where we went semi-pro in 2010 with a bunch of divisional guys, and Mark Johnson, Derek Knight, and Sean Sacedo were the 3 kind of Division I guys. Everybody else on that team was Division III or lower. For the most part, they were Division IV and V. We didn't we focused very little on team things with the exception of communication. And I made everybody play with one loader pretty much the entire off season. And then we just refined individual skills based on deficiencies from the previous year, which to me, that's what the off season is for. Like team workouts should be very specific and very short. Individual workouts, very specific and very short, but really, really focused.
Right.
Very
Intent,
focused.
right?
Yeah.
Have a specific intent.
Yep. And in all of those things, there should be a goal of heart rate, right? We also want to get everybody's heart rate up and put ourselves in a better conditioning situation for the next year. I think most teams fail because of individual skills more than they do with team skills, not just, especially in the lower divisions. I think we've gotten, and I've said this a lot lately, and I'll continue to say it. We put so much emphasis into this stationary shooting stuff that the reality is the teams that are going to that do well and are going to continue to do well are the ones that are incredibly disciplined and can move and can be in space with their gun and be successful.
Right.
And those are the teams that are going to continue to elevate. And those things come from a lot of individual work. So I would spend the off season with my team, if we were playing divisional paintball, really focused on individual skills. Right.
So he's talking about the fundamentals here, right? Yep. The fundamentals of gun work, gun play. And that's key, right? If you don't hit what you're shooting at, there are no terminal ballistics. That's what we used to say.
Yeah.
Right. It doesn't matter what caliber the gun is. If you're not hitting them, it doesn't matter. So anyway, yeah, good stuff.
And by the way, Christian, that's exactly what we're going to talk about in our clinic at World Cup. We're going to talk about how to identify player need using data from the previous season, right? Which is also going to tell us what our team deficiencies are, right? Which don't always revolve around picking somebody up. It may revolve around, we need to create drills, which we're going to talk about drills. We need to create some drills that meaningfully improve these deficiencies, right? And again, trackable skills, right? Not just like we're going to go out and do it. Oh, he hit it 4 times. Great. Well, last week, did he hit it 6? And this week he hit it 4. He went the wrong direction.
Right.
Running an effective tryout, player attributes. Does a player match your team goals? Right. So we're going to talk about that at World Cup. So
your code book,
yeah.
Communication, right? Is it convoluted? Is it not detailed enough? Right. So that sort of thing, which by the way, will segue into the next question that you have up here.
I think it's a bot. But we'll put it up.
Okay. All right. I plan to start a D3 program from scratch. I'm struggling to identify which drills I want to see during tryouts to help identify who should make the team. What drills or scenarios would you recommend? I've got a great idea. I would recommend coming to the coaches clinic at World Cup, this event. So,
or you can go to BKI.
You could do that.
Combine. Go to, I think it's paintballcombine.com.
Yep.
There's a bunch of drills listed there. And then there's rankings and KPIs from every player who's done the drills for like the last 5 years. Find out what division your team wants to, that you want. So you're saying D3. So go through, sift out the D3 players and say, okay, here's the KPI, right? Here's the median of the D3 players who did these drills. But my benchmark is going to be 0.2 higher than that. Go pull all that and then create some benchmarks of, hey, I'm good with you being plus minus 5 of this, not outside of that, right? Obviously, if they're better, wonderful. But -5, if you're more than that, I'm out, right? So you have to create some standards around what that's going to look like for you. But as far as drills go, go to BKI Combat or paintballcombine.com or join BKI. You can get a ton of drills there. We actually did an episode also with a bunch of drills on it that you're welcome to go back and watch.
That's right.
Again, I think this is a bot.
Okay.
Yeah, because there's another one down here with a different name that says almost exactly the same thing.
All right.
Yeah.
Look at you, Johnny, on the spot.
Yeah. Bots are fun.
Yeah.
Okay. We're there.
Oh, okay. That's a solid question. I love it. If there was one current pro jersey you picked up before they retired, whose would it be? Ooh.
I don't understand the question because it says current pro jersey and then before they retired. So I'm confused.
Okay, yeah. Clarification here.
So are you saying a current pro before they retire or somebody who's already retired that I wish I would have gotten before?
That's it. That's a good, yeah, you need the clarification. Well, maybe we answer both.
We'll come back to that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. We can answer both. Go ahead.
Well, no, you go first because my brain's still going through like 9,000 people right now.
I don't have anybody from like I have all the guys that I would want from today's era. I have them. I have a Ryan Greenspan jersey. I have a Yosh Rao jersey. I have a Kevin Brettauer jersey, which I got before he retired. And I got another one. I have a Mike Bianca jersey. I have a Malloy jersey. I have a Kirill jersey. I have a Colt Roberts jersey. I have over 300 I have over 300 jerseys.
I am woefully behind. Yeah, I would have to get all the dynasty guys, obviously, and I need to do that. I need to get all my dynasty guys jerseys. You just rattled off a whole slew of people from Legion, from Damage, from obviously the Canes, Impact. Man, dude. I can't narrow it down to anybody, right? It's like someone this actually happened recently. I was at a practice and someone came up and asked me for my autograph. And I remembered, which was funny to me. I was like, why? It's odd that dude asked me. Of course, I gave the person their autograph. And then I said, now you need to go around to everybody here and ask for their autograph too. Because I just felt like everybody was just, I don't know. It's just, there's so many people in this sport that has been influential to me and not all players. Right. I'd love to get a Skinny jersey. I would love to have a Shane Pastana jersey. I would love to have, a Joey or something, any of these guys that have helped me and been influential to me throughout the years. There's just a lot of players that I appreciate and love, and I'm woefully behind. It's just something I never really did, only because I felt, who am I to ask? I just
asked.
Yeah, I know.
I just walk up and say, hey, can I have your jersey, or can we swap, or can I buy it? I paid for some, like, I have a John Richardson Avalanche jersey. I paid for that one. If the guys needed money, I was never afraid to just buy it.
Sure. Right? Yeah. No, I appreciate it. I get that.
Because it meant a lot to me to have it. So if they needed the money, I was cool buying it. I wasn't above that. Right. Because I also knew if they gave it to me and they were going to sell it, that's money out of their pocket. Right. Yeah. I always felt like they would give me really good deals, which is cool. Right. Really nice of them. All right. What about a retired player?
Honestly, one of my favorite players, I got to get a Moorhead jersey, by the way, before he retires. One of my favorite players, but I would really love an Angel Fergoza jersey.
Yeah. I don't have one of those.
Yeah. I was a fan of Angel. I used to love the way he ran. The guy looked like a panther when he was running.
And he ran so low.
Exactly. Right. So gosh, Maddie, right. John Richardson, goodness gracious. Brian Cole, any of the Danny Love, there's any of the Aftershock guys from back in the day. I've got a Rocky Cagnoni. I do have a Rocky Cagnoni. Huge fan. So yeah, there's a couple there.
I would have loved to have had Rosie's jersey.
Oh yeah,
from the late 90s. I would have loved to have one of his jerseys, but never got one. I have one of Mooner's, but never got one of his. All right, let's see.
Oh yeah, Lundqvist. Good one. Good one.
Max,
Yeah.
I have one of his.
See, just look
I
at
have
him
one of his
flexing
and
everybody.
and I have his brothers from Russian Legion.
Joey, we can make that happen. We're not swapping though. I'll just see what I can do for you on both.
Hey, thank you, Bondo. Bondo says, "Hey Ryan, thank you so much for your drill tips with Joel. I spent 2 cases on it yesterday. Very helpful. Awesome. Thank you.
Nice.
Just FYI, guys, if I see you on Instagram like doing drills and you're doing it wrong, I'll send you a message and say, hey, can I give you some advice on how to make that better? If you don't respond, no big deal. I get it. If you do, I will give you feedback, just so you know. That doesn't mean, by the way, I want you to send me a bunch of stuff. If I'm scrolling and I see you doing drills and you're doing it incorrectly, I will give you advice if you want it. Joel Hoffman has been doing a ton of drills down in Austin, Texas, out of Outlaw Paintball. I scrolled by a couple of times. He was running drills and he had some form things that I just helped him correct. So, and hopefully made his drill better too, because there was some flaws in the way he was doing the drill. But if I see you, I'll ask before I give you advice. But if you want it, respond.
Man, there's some great comments here. Yes, Rich Telford, Tom Cole, Bad Company jersey. That would be awesome. Early Bob Long. Heck yeah. Look at
this. I have one of those.
Paul Desarn, Montresor, Noblet. What a great Saransky.
Okay. I want to change. Gary Noblet would be one that I would really
Gary
want.
Noblet.
He was 100%. My favorite player in the late 90s, early 2000s. Gary was my favorite player by far. Like, loved watching him play.
Well, if it isn't, he could just sell some jerseys and pay for it.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. That's the guy I thought was a bot. He said this. I'm so sorry, man. Oh, well, good. Hopefully we did answer your question, though. There are a lot of resources for that. A ton of resources. If you don't mind, though, would you shoot me a message on social media? It's I just realized our names weren't up here anymore, but it's Ryan Gray Coach, at Ryan Gray Coach on Instagram. Shoot me a message. I'll help you. I'll send you some links to some resources.
Excellent.
Yeah.
You know, Joey, that's a good point. Joey K, we should discuss the Hall of Icons nominations. Maybe we'll save that for another show. But yeah, that's an intro. I forgot about the Hall of Icons is coming out now. So the iconic awards or whatever they're called now. So
Doc, if you want, Doc PB says retired Max Lundqvist or Thomas Taylor current. I would, if you want a Thomas Taylor jersey, holler at me. I'll get you one.
Yeah. Greg Hastings, that's another good one. By the way, Greg did he did incredible stuff for the sport. So
totally.
Yeah.
All this is he's clarifying here. Initially, I was thinking which player has 2 to 5 years left. Yeah, great. Yeah, 2 to 5 years. I don't know. Ryan would probably be it. Ryan Moorhead. Yeah. He's a stud.
Yeah.
Yes, Chris, the Jeep is running. So Doc says Coach Gray just rubbing it in at this point. I'm not, I promise. Like I love jerseys and I have just a stupid amount of jerseys. I'm not like when I moved to the house, like I'm not in a house, they're building it right now, but moved out of my house into this storage thing that's next to me. I had 5 huge boxes, like the big Home Depot boxes full of jerseys. My wife was not happy with me.
I've got to start doing it. I might just start going to the Boys in Blue and just say, all right, give me a jersey.
Yeah. Baines. Yeah. I have one of Dave Baines Avalanche jerseys, Paul.
That's awesome. Yeah. Todd Martinez. Yeah. Love it.
Oh, this is a good question, Joey.
Ooh. We might end up being here a lot longer if we get into that.
When you say personal, not a coaching thing, So my personal strengths are I'm incredibly disciplined. I get up at basically the same time every single day. When I say basically, I mean sometime between 4 and 4:08. Sorry, 4:40 and 4:48. It's literally like that consistent. I go to the gym at exactly the same time every day. My wife and I leave here at 5:55. We get to the gym. I do exactly the same stretches before we start our own little warm up. I eat the exact same thing every single day for breakfast. I have 3 eggs and 2 eggs that are nothing but egg whites, with 2 pieces of bacon and 1 piece of hero toast every single day. I work pretty much the exact same schedule every single day. Yeah, I'm very, very disciplined. I would say probably another personal strength is my family and my wife at this point know that they're like the most important thing in my life by a long shot, which that hasn't always been the case. But certainly my wife, like one of the things I tell my kids all the time is I want them to always know and see how much I love her. Right. I feel like my responsibility to them is, as far as what a relationship is supposed to look like, is that I'm doting on her. I'm loving on her. They see me be physical, kiss her, hold her hand, smack her butt here and there. Like literally we're walking through Home Depot buying lights for our house, like for the garages and whatnot. And she was pushing the shopping cart, which I was like, give me that. And I like smacked her on the butt, and my son kind of gave me a weird look. And I was like, of course, right? Like smack her on the butt every chance I get, as long as she'll let me. But those are probably the 2 biggest strengths that I have. And probably the second is way more important than the first. My biggest weakness is I'm terribly impatient. And though sometimes the content of what I'm trying to share is good, my delivery sometimes leaves some space for development. Sometimes leaves some space for development, right? And I have to apologize to people every now and again. So
okay. Strengths. From a communication perspective, I think I'm able to speak at different levels. I can take a concept and I can explain it at a couple of different levels. I think maybe that's a strength. So I guess communication would be a strength, able to talk to people, able to speak to you. I'm empathetic. I think I can read people well. And in that case, understand that if they're angry at me or they're yelling or they're doing that, I know it's not at me. And so I don't take it personally, and I try to address it as best I can. I don't like to talk about myself a lot. I don't know. I'm looking around for some kind of note or help. I'm pretty analytical.
Virtuous. You probably are the most ethical human I know. And again, comes from your virtue. Yeah, I would say your relationship with God,
100%,
which stems down to your relationship with your family and your kids, and
100%.
Fantastic leader. Well, shit, I could go on all night giving you
stop.
flowers.
Stop it. My weaknesses, I can talk about those a lot. That would be, my bench press right now. It's not what it used to be.
Well, come to the gym with me. I'll help you with that.
I know, man, you would crush me. It's no doubt. No, I think sometimes I don't avoid conflict, but sometimes I feel I should say certain things and I refrain from saying them because I want to think it through. And sometimes I think that raw emotion is necessary. So yeah, I think sometimes I get fired up, and I'll take a breath, and maybe there are times where I don't need to. I think there are times where I need to let it fly sometimes. There are times for that, and there's needs for that. So another weakness might be that, well, man, we could be here all night with the weaknesses, and I don't want to go too deep into it because I don't want to give people insight on how to defeat me. That sounds silly. That was silly. Gosh, that was dumb.
That's you protecting yourself. That's all that was. That was just like a wall. I'm gonna throw this one up real fast.
That's true. 100%. So
I've known you for a second.
It's uncanny, man. It's like you need to stop. But yeah, that would be something. I think sometimes because of my past, where I used to be quick on the temper and quick on certain things, there are times I overcorrect, and there are times when ass whoopings are necessary, and I don't always pull the trigger on that. Another weakness is I'm a workaholic, and sometimes that can be detrimental. I can't turn my brain off if there's a problem, and I won't stop until it's solved, and it causes exhaustion, which leads to impatience, which leads to the dark side, which leads to that sort of thing. And I'm not always my best, right? So that bandwidth gets used up. And then when the bandwidth is necessary for something else, I'm not always there because I'm thinking about 9,000 other things and trying to solve them, and instead of being in the moment. So that would probably be a pretty good one. So,
yeah. This is a great question.
Yeah.
Hardest player to coach. And he said
on your previous
team. Yeah. Good question.
So your previous team would be
AC.
Which one do you?
I assume he's talking about the one right before this.
Yeah.
Any previous team? Because God, that's a long list.
Yes, for you it's a long list. For me, it's
no
not.
Players.
Yeah.
It's only 3 teams, but it's a lot of players. The hardest player to coach on AC Diesel was Jesse Stevens by far. Just communication things. That's it. He's a great player. We just I tell you, I had a great moment with him at the last event. So when I left AC Diesel, Jesse and I were not seeing eye to eye. Like, it was bad. And I just kind of left it alone, right? Because I felt confident that what was happening wasn't about Ryan, right? Like, I kind of inventoried the interactions I'd had with him, and I was like, okay, like, I handled those good. I'm like, this is not about Ryan. This is a developmental thing for Jesse. And at the last event, he came over and he said, hey, coach, I just wanted to come over and tell you I get it and I understand now. And I immediately grabbed him. Immediately grabbed him, grabbed his head, put his head on my shoulder, wrapped my arms around him. And I was like, man, I'm so happy to hear that. Like, I hope you understood, like, my expectation for you was here.
Yeah. So
I'm going to coach you here. I'm not going to drop down and allow you to be less than, right? I'm not going to allow you to be less than who you can be. I'm going to coach you up here. Right. And he's like, I get it. I was like, okay, awesome. Like, we hugged, had a really nice little moment. Right. And I was like, okay, great. Right. But while I was there, by far, Jesse was the hardest player to coach on that team.
Yeah. This is going to sound like a cop-out. It's not. On the Hurricanes, none of the players were really difficult.
Oh, that's bullshit.
Well, I mean, we got to define.
Don't lie.
Right? Are we talking about, like, developmental? Are we talking about, that sort of thing? If I had to throw a name out, and I'm sure he'll appreciate this, is Jacob Seawright.
Yeah.
Seawright is so intelligent, right, that a lot of times the thing with, I had to be careful because he was injury prone too, right? So you had to be careful with that. You're wanting certain things out of him, but at the same time, you want to save him for the event, right? You don't want to break him at practice. And, he asked great questions, and sometimes he'd just be like, nah, I don't really want to do that. So, see right, but only because he knew his limitations, right? So,
hey, casual, your next question, I don't think either one of us can answer.
Yeah,
greatest player you've coached today. I know I can't answer. I mean, I'm coaching 3 guys right now that are all the greatest players I've ever coached, and then you put, Mouse is right there too.
Yeah,
but Justin, Rabikoff, Malloy, and Kirill are all. They're just unbelievably good.
Yeah,
unbelievably good.
Yeah, I'm coaching Dynasty, for God's sake.
Yeah, you got first ballot Hall of Famers down the roster,
right?
So,
that's a good cut. That's a good question. Yeah. Chris Kurtz, 3266. What player on your current team will be a great coach after retirement? I have several. I think Yosh Rao is going to be an outstanding coach. I think he already is. Ryan Greenspan already is, right? I'm seeing, matter of fact, I've been watching several of his reels lately, and I'm watching him grow on that front. It's incredible. Joe Barrett will be a ridiculous coach. Kyle Berry's already a great coach. So, yeah,
Kirill and Pasha are probably the 2 Red Legion guys that I think will be great coaches when they're done.
Yeah. I think Danny Schonauer would be a great coach. Yeah. He has a great way of talking to people. Right. Gosh, I could just name off everybody on the team right now, actually, but,
and Justin would be a great coach. I think he would be a great individual coach. I think for a team, he would have challenge just because he thinks it's such a, he thinks that everybody should think like him.
Right.
And that's way up here a lot of times for most players.
That's Ryan.
I think
Ryan Green.
Yeah. But Ryan's done a good job, I think, about being able to meet people where they are. Right?
100%.
Whereas Justin gets frustrated, right? I'll just give you an example. We were talking in January when I went to Florida for the first time, and we were talking about players that I thought could fit into our program. One of the things Justin said, he's like, well, I've never been in a gunfight with that guy and really felt like he was a threat. And I'm like, bro, there's 5 people who can do what you do. So I don't know. I don't even know how to respond to that. You know what I mean? There's 5 people who are you. So of course, they're not a threat to you, but are they a threat to maybe you're number 5 and they're you're in the top 5 and they're number 25. So that means there's 100 and some odd other pro players that they're a problem for.
Right.
Right. It's so sometimes I just think it's hard for him to kind of bring it down.
I've got to throw out Arturo's name too. I've watched Arturo coach people. He's fantastic. He knows how to get on people's level. And I think Blake would be a great divisional coach. He just has a way of delivering things. So, all right. So the Dynasty roster would all be tremendous coaches after the retirement. Most of them are already tremendous coaches, but I would say that all of them would be great after they retire.
Yeah, Casual says exactly who the F is J-Rab threatened by. Yeah, that's my point, right? When you're one of those elite, again, top 5 guys, 8 guys in the league who can do what you do, it's not really, but there are when you're gunfighting someone, pretty quickly if they need if you have to respect them, pretty fast, right? Where you've got to be a little tighter, you got to be a little faster. But there's not a lot of guys that, guys like Ryan Greenspan and Justin Rabikoff and Yosh and Kirill, there's just not a lot of guys that those guys, come into contact gun battle with where they're oh, this is going to be a real problem for me. That's just how it works, when you're one of those guys, right? Yeah, kind of. Yeah. So kinda. Good point. Yeah. It's like Mouse talking about another snake player. Yeah. Kind of, right? There's now, Billy is playing incredibly well. Arturo's playing incredibly well. Malloy is always a problem for people. Even Danny now in front of him is playing really well. Who's the top 5 semi-pro? I don't understand the question.
Yeah, I don't either.
Paul, clarify who's the top 5. Do you mean semi-pro players?
Players.
Oh, Colton Dahl is number 1. Under him, I don't know. Colton Dahl is number 1. He's the best. I believe Colton Dahl is the best semi-pro player in the world.
Yeah. I think you got to throw Ronnie Tyner in there from Bear Ridge Jungle Cats.
Yeah. Like, well, here's what the problem I have, and this is a great problem. I've watched Bear Ridge this season play 6 times, and I can't pick out their best player.
But see, that's a positive.
No, that's what I'm saying.
It's exactly what I said.
It's the greatest problem you can have. Like when I watch them play, I'm not gonna lie, I'm scouting, right? I'm trying to find dudes that I might want to pick up.
Right.
But like when I'm watching them, I don't I can't look at their roster while they're playing and say that is their best player. Like in the matches that I have watched, multiple guys have stepped up and had moments.
100%.
And they play amazing
Ronnie
team
because
paintball.
I'm familiar with the program, and he's incredibly coachable, and he's unfazed. It doesn't matter if someone over here is losing it or somebody over here is not losing it. It doesn't matter. He's always an even keel, and I think that's a highlight, right? And of course, his aggression, gunfighting, etc. You know, if we can get some of his consistent decision making, he'll be great. So a lot of those. But you're absolutely right. There's a lot of guys on that team that are really solid.
And that's what I mean. It's like when I watch them play, I'm like, there's no standout, right? They all play really well, and they play exceptionally well together.
That's the key, right?
Totally, right? But like when you watch other teams, I feel like I can always like
find that one or two guys.
That's the guy, right? Especially in semi-pro, right?
Yeah.
You watch, it's like, oh, that's the guy right there. That's the fella. He's the one. But he's not on his back, but like he's the guy, right? And you can see kind of where teams put certain players and know like, oh, that's their guy. Mm-hmm. He's playing the hardest bunker on the field, right? The hardest spot on the field, that guy's going there. So,
love it. Absolutely love it.
Great question.
All right.
Anything else before we're call her a night so I can go to bed?
Yeah, I got to go take some NyQuil or something.
I get up at 4:45 in the morning.
Mm-hmm. I'll still get up even with the NyQuil.
Man, I can't take that stuff
because my brain won't shut off.
It just I take NyQuil and the next day I'm literally a fog.
I'm a fog anyway, right?
Yeah. You're not. You're on pretty much all the time. Hey, thank you guys for allowing us this space to kind of do this show and having some fun. We appreciate all the activity in the chat. This was a total fly by the seat of our pants thing for multiple reasons. One, because our next several shows are super structured. Next week, we have a full WNXL episode. We are going to have Jen Folk and Anthony Vitale on, who are we're going to break down the whole WNXL going into World Cup. We're going to talk about player moves. We're going to talk about what teams you need to be looking for. Just had a big player move today, which we'll talk about next week. Really big one. That one's rough. So then the week after that, of course, is our pre-World Cup show. We will have a moderator for that show, Rich Telford, who's going to be joining myself, Mike, Shane Pastana, and Kevin Brettauer. So that show is going to be amazing. And then, of course, we'll do our post-World Cup show with Rich Telford the week after. So the next 3 are should be great, but also very, very structured shows. So we wanted to really have this one to be able to leave some space for you guys to be able to participate with us and get to know us a little bit better. So it was a lot of fun. Yeah, Doc, thanks. Great episode. Definitely need more of this kind of stuff. Yeah. Maybe, right? I remember that thing I talked about earlier with the discipline stuff. It's really hard for me to not have some sort of really relatively structured show. Like it's a little bit tough, but you guys were great in the chat. We appreciate that. So thank you to BKI, Max Sportswear. If you have not, go check out Max Sportswear's new pack. It is rad looking. I can't wait to get to World Cup and get my hands on that thing and check it out. Thank you to BKI for all your support as well, Anthony and Lori. We really appreciate you. Thank you to Major League Paintball Plus, Tom Cole, Kevin Fillers, and Darren Cessna. Thank you all for joining us on episode 90 of the Coaches Show. I'm Ryan Gray with Mike Bianca. As always, be responsible.